whether you're black or white and you're living in Scotland, you're just Scottish. That's it. That's it to me. Like, we're just human beings living in Scotland. That's it. And I know some people might be like, "Oh, you don't see colour." It's not that. Like, I can see colour. I can see it clearly. I've got eyes, right? But it doesn't make a difference.
Breaking news you can use, folks. You're going to want to hear this. This is Elle Mac, a Scottish lass. Apparently, Karenism is not just an American trait. Some call her the red-haired Karen demon, but I call her Scar Armpit because of the obvious. Or sunburned titties, also because of the obvious. She's what I call a proper redbone because her orange-haired species have the lightest skin. Too pale for protection, so the sun seeps right through and puts a nice red colour on her very skeleton. Elle Mac here had a lot to say about black Americans and black American ignorance. She believes that black Americans are really so ignorant that they were unaware of black Scot existence. She's not the only one, but it doesn't show black American ignorance like they think. It shows their ignorance. But that's what happens when you put your underweight nose all into black business. She's cut the comments off. It was too much for her, or the backlash. And this video is her explaining how she doesn't understand the reaction that she received in her comment section, because all she wanted to say was there was no racism and we Scotland. Well, as you can see, her video backfired. That's why her hair is that unnatural orange, and her chest showing clear signs of future skin melanoma. Unfortunately, it's too late for her to backpedal, but if she could, I believe she's found a happy place with the British. The white Scots have a lot in common with the white British. Hopefully, the black Scots don't have a lot in common with the black Brits. But apparently it's starting to look like that. Yes, Queen, shut your eyes and don't look at all the mess that you've caused yourself. This has been Scottish Crystal Black with news you can use. Toodaloo.
This is another case study of colonial psychosis disorder. You're Scottish, so you have no idea what that is. Essentially, it's hot supremacy. And yes, I renamed this colonial psychosis disorder. That way, we're more likely to focus on the individual mentality rather than their complexion. And yes, racism comes in a spectrum. And you may not overtly hate black people, but avoiding and ignoring their lived experience, well, that's the right to comfort. And on top of that is a fear of open conflict. Because claiming that a known global issue is problematic is putting your comfort over the lived experience of those of a darker complexion within your community. Because I did let you finish and I saw all your videos. Even you recognize that there is racism in Scotland, but you rather ignore it and run away from it. And that's not how you deal with racism. Because it didn't take much scrolls for me to find racists on a train in Scotland. And this racist woman told her to go back to her own country. Mind you, she was born in Scotland. So this kumbaya racism doesn't exist over here is not real. If you want to live in this peace utopia where racism doesn't play a part in our lived experience, then be like the other people in this video and stand up against racism, because going la 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 is not going to help.
Hey lovelies, welcome back to Afrojudy. I hope you all are doing great wherever you are watching this video from. So a few days ago, Black Americans discovered that Black Scottish people exist and they have been receiving great mutual love from the Black Scots. Then they went ahead and started asking them some questions like, how is life generally in Scotland as a Black person, and do you experience racism? Do you experience the macro and the micro aggressions? And how are you being treated in Scotland as a Black person? Are you being treated the same way the white Scottish people are being treated, or there is a special way you are being treated in Scotland as a Black person? And how is the education system there, the housing? Like, Black Americans were so curious when they discovered that Black Scottish people exist, and they wanted to know their way of life in Scotland as a Black people there. They really received great responses from the Black Scottish people. Then there is this white Scottish woman who came out and gave some responses which were kind of denigrating Black Americans. So the melanated people came for her because, you know, how black people always do it. So guys, let's dive in straight to the video. Kindly give the video a thumbs up, and also if you are coming across the channel for the very first time, consider subscribing.
So obviously in the last couple of days we've just found out that the Americans didn't know that there was black Scottish people in Scotland, right? But the comment sections for me are just a little bit problematic. Do white people like black people over there? And that doesn't really sit right with me. Like, don't do that. Of course we like them because they're just normal human beings living their life. Like, don't do that. We don't differentiate here. You're just Scottish, that's it. The bottom line, you're just Scottish. We don't say white Scottish and black Scottish. That's not the way that it is here. It never has been that way here. If it has been, I've never been. How would we know because we're white? Well, we live here and it's a lived experience, right? So I just feel like it's a very American way of thinking and it's just not the way that it is over here.
Americans discovered this week that black Scottish people exist and that they're real. And there's this mutual love going back and forth between black Americans and black Scots. And in the comment sections, black Americans are asking the black Scottish people, is it safe for us to come over there? How did they treat you over there? How's life over there? And I've seen several videos like this from white Scottish people where they're saying, we don't do race over here. People are just Scottish. We don't differentiate. Trust me when I say this to you, every black person in the world that lives in an either European or mainly white country knows that they're black. They have experienced microaggressions, macroaggressions. They have been called names. They have been made to feel other. They do feel othered, right? Whether it's super racism, a blatant racism like America, or it's covert racism like it is in the UK. The UK is a very apathetic place where they're told not to bring up things and not to be too boisterous, not to voice your opinion too much. Whereas in America, we talk our shit directly. And that's one thing I can say about everywhere I've lived in the world. Even though America is a racist place and has its issues, we still call out racism when it happens to us in the moment. Whereas a lot of places don't. But what's most intriguing to me is like, it's a white woman saying that black people asking black people if the country they live in likes black people is a very American way of thinking. It's not an American way of thinking. It's a skin folk way of thinking. You will never know what it means to be black in this world and be othered and be one of the most hated groups of people just based on what we look like. And let's not forget, you're in Europe. Europeans invented racism. So therefore, definitely you may be an advanced person and you love everyone and you have black Scot friends, Asian Scot friends, but the Scottish people in Scotland are black British. That's their classification. Just like the Asian people in Scotland are Asian. Just like the Arabs in Scotland are Arab. So I don't see color. We don't do that over here. Vibe. It doesn't fly when it comes to black people because you'll never know what it means to be black. Also, just let black people talk to black people without y'all chiming in. This is you don't need to be a part of this conversation. Let black people talk to each other and let it be fun. To all the black Brits out there mad that black people discovered Scottish people, shut up. Enjoy your week.
So obviously in the last couple of days we've just found out that the Americans didn't know that there was black Scottish.
So this is really interesting. I'm pretty sure I've seen the exact video that this person's talking about where the American was like, do white Scottish people like black Scottish people? Obviously, that's not really a conversation that I need to be a part of. But what I think is really interesting is that it highlights a bit of what I think is quite prevalent in like contemporary Scottish culture, in that a lot of these comments were saying stuff like, we don't see black or white. If you live in Scotland, you're Scottish. If you're Scottish, you're Scottish. All that sort of thing. Where I think Scottish people like to believe that we're very progressive. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that our cultural identity is, a large part of it anyway, I think, is on this basis that we are not English, that we are more accepting the English. And I think that comes from this sort of misconception that Scottish people were oppressed and that we suffered at the hands of the English the same as the rest of the world. And that's not really correct. But I think what it's led to is this culture that we believe it's okay to say things like, we don't see black or white, because it looks more progressive than the country that we're attached to, where actually, if we wanted to be that progressive, we should be acknowledging that a lot of black voices in Scotland talk about how the racism is different, but still here. Of course it's still here. There was a video that I seen earlier of one of the Black Scottish creators, and one of the comments was just basically saying, oh, you're not Scottish, like, you just happen to have ended up here. This guy's obviously Scottish. There's no doubt that this guy is Scottish. So that level of racism still exists in Scotland. But I think it's really interesting to see this dynamic in play of, we really think we aren't. We really think we've built a very progressive society because we are a bit more kinder to migrants, a bit more accepting of different identities in our country. But ultimately, it's kind of highlighting the performative nature of Scottish progressiveness.
My experience, I can't speak on any other person of colour, a black person at all, and I would never try to, but I have seen some comments of black people saying like, oh, there's no racism in Scotland, and I'm like, look at my last video. But the first time I experienced racism that I can proper remember, I was 7 years old in a soft play, and I was on the floor of the soft play just playing. I think I lost my cousins, I think they disappeared. And I was by myself, and a group of, 3 or 4 boys circled me, like right round, and they were looking down on me because I was sitting on the floor, and they were saying stuff like, do you eat poo, do you eat shit? Like, that's what they were saying, that was the words that they were saying. Bear in mind, they were young, I was about 7, they were maybe like 9. Why are you that skin colour? And their faces were bright red, laughing, like proper hysterically laughing at each other, being racist to me. And I didn't understand racism because I didn't like see my colour at that point. I grew up also in a white family, so I didn't understand why they were saying this to me, but I knew how it felt, and it felt awful. So every time that I've experienced racism, it takes me back to that, just that vulnerable innocence situation. Anyway, I've unfortunately experienced racism loads of times since, but I won't get into that. I'm not here to do a mad X Factor sob story. It's just I feel it's important to kind of talk about it, because I feel like that last video has kind of gave me a voice. I don't know. Anyway, but the one I had experienced, it was 2019, and that was one of them. It's carried with me, and I think that's why I stood up to that woman so much, because I felt as if I couldn't before. Like the way I was at a taxi rank in 2019, at the end of a night out, and a grown man chanted the N-word at me and spat on me, and you know, you can hear it before they do it. It was so intentional. I tried to record him, and he hit my phone off my hand, and it went on the floor, and he jumped in a taxi, and he put the window down in the taxi, and he was shouting the N-word, chanting it. And I went to the police. I did the, you know, and the worst part about it, and that's why I'm so grateful for the people that did stand up for me yesterday, is nobody says anything. They just allow it to happen. And everyone at the taxi rank, 2 people I was friends with were at the taxi rank, and they were witnesses, and I'm lucky that they obviously went to the police as witnesses. Like they allowed the police to get their details as witnesses, but I was lucky in a sense that I had people that were going to do that, because no one else did. And even then, at the time, nobody speaks up. No one says, here, that's wrong. And it is wrong. And if you see it, even if you're not a confrontational person, let that person who's been racist or homophobic or whatever, let them know that that's not okay. Like, even just by giving them a look, just be like you don't have to like get involved. Ideally, it would be great if you could. But even that girl yesterday, she got up when the guy left the train, and obviously the woman started again. That girl got up from the other side of the carriage and stood with me until I got off the train. She didn't get involved in the sense of saying things to the woman, which she didn't need to, because she just standing there asking me if I'm okay and just standing with me, that meant the world. And if you can do that with someone, you don't need to be a confrontational person to just stand with or sit with them and just be them. Let them know that, hey, you're not alone in this, because that's how I feel the full time. I've always felt so alone, and I think that's why I'm not triggered, but it does trigger me. I'm gonna lie, it triggers me. It takes me back to every experience I've ever had. So yeah, thanks so much. everyone.
Well, guys, when I started watching the videos of these black Scottish people on my FYP, like I was so impressed by the responses they were giving the black Americans. There was no rude response I watched from them. Even if you go through the comment section, they were just so nice because black Americans were so curious. They wanted to know how the black Scottish people are being treated there. Then they were also happy that they found their cousins who really welcomed them wholeheartedly without judging them. So some of the white Scottish people really came out and started saying that the black Americans should stop asking the black Scottish people if they are experiencing racism in Scotland, because they said that in Scotland they don't classify people based on race, that they consider all people in Scotland to be Scottish, whether you are black, brown, white, So honestly speaking, if you are a black person living in a white community, the way you will be othered. The way you'll be experiencing the microaggressions, the macroaggressions, and even sometimes racism. And in some countries, racism is always rampant. I know some people really don't want to admit that they are racist towards black people, and also that they are being taught to be racist towards black people. Then again, apart from the white Scottish people who gave some kind of rude responses to the black Americans, there are also some melanated people who are coming out and saying that, let us just give black Americans time. They will find out that these are black Scottish people are not originally from Scotland, that they are from Africa and from the Caribbean, and they should stop calling them their cousins. I really don't understand where all this hatred is coming from. We are all melanated people, and if black Americans find out that there are some people who are black people and they exist somewhere and they really show them true love that they deserve, why should we show hatred towards them? Like, if you wake up today and find out that I have a nice friend who is treating me so well, why should you start hating on that person? Let them continue be friends. In fact, you should even be happy for them, because if you read the black American history, if you understand their history so well, black Americans have been going through a lot for decades. And the responses even I was reading from my people, from my continent, they were not good comments. Like, I don't understand where the hatred is coming from. Though majority of the people were really impressed that the black Scottish people exist, and some even didn't know that they are black Scottish people. Then another thing that really impressed the black Americans after discovering that the black Scottish people exist is their accent. Like, the accent was almost similar to the black Americans. I know Africans, we have heavy accent, and sorry for that, because some people, I know they really struggle so much to understand whatever I'm speaking. But when the black Americans discovered that the black Scottish people have almost similar accents to them and they could understand each other so well, and also the warm welcome they received from the black Scottish people, and in fact, the black Scots were telling black Americans that you are welcomed in Scotland. You can book a flight and come anytime. And some of the black Americans really wanted to relocate to Scotland, because this is the main reason as to why they were asking all these questions. They wanted to know if the black Scots are also being racially profiled, as it happens in the United States. Then they wanted to know about the education system, the housing in Scotland, because if you want to move somewhere, like, you should know everything about that place before moving, so that you don't regret after relocating there. And I know this is the main reason as to why the black Americans were asking these questions. And again, they wanted to know if these people are being mistreated the way the Black Americans are being mistreated in the United States. Then I also another question they were asking about the government system, if it's favoring the Black Scots or it's oppressing them the way Black Americans are being oppressed in the United States. You know, the Black Scots gave good responses. They were never rude that, no, stop asking us about all that, maybe you should come and see by yourself. No, I never saw such kind of response. And I really loved them because I think they have been on my FYP for the past 3 days, and I'm loving the way they carry out themselves. I don't know if there is hatred in Scotland the way there is hatred in other continents or countries, because Scotland is in Europe. Then again, these white Scottish woman who was saying that Black Americans should stop asking the Black Scots if there is racism in Scotland. Do you know where racism started from? It's like it was manufactured in Europe, you know. So if Scotland is in Europe, then why do you ask about that? And also in UK, there is the racism that still exists there. You know, Scotland and the UK, they're not far away from each other. And you know, if you're a Black person in a white dominated country or community, whatever you will be experiencing there. So this woman who was trying to denigrate Black Americans, I think she should learn the Black American history, and also she should understand the reason as to why the Black Americans were asking the Black Scots all these questions. Because, you know, if you are melanated, you are melanated. Don't consider yourself that you are living in a country where it's white dominated and you won't be othered. You will be. And this is the problem that some of the communities have been having in the United States. You know, they were considering themselves to be white so that they can be treated so well in the society, only for the people they elected to turn against them. So guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If you are a Black Scot watching this video, thank you for showing Black Americans the mutual love. And if you are a Black American watching this video, what do you think about the Black Scots? Have you watched their videos? Have you seen how they are good people, how they have welcomed you in their community? Let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much guys for watching this video. I really appreciate your massive love and support. Let's keep the conversation going and also learn from each other. Until next time, I'm your presenter Judy. Let's meet on my next episode.